Part 3. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 21. This is a very weird feeling. My body is merging with the paper figure through the bloody hands. Slowly, I felt my whole body enter the paper man. The coldness disappeared in an instant and was replaced by warmth. I looked at my hands and saw blank paper. I struggled to stand up, feeling like my body was like a puppet, stiff and numb. The paper man is soulless and is a walking zombie controlled by Mr. Pan. But why did I enter the body of the paper man? I suddenly thought about my right hand that had been scratched by my grandma. Could it be that the bloody hand was used as a medium to enter it? Although he is unclear about the current situation, entering the body of a paper man is not a bad thing. At least I won't disappear, which gives me enough time to retrieve the body. I entered the body of the paper man, and the other virgins also lost their goals and stood quietly in place. The most important thing now is to find Mr. Pan, but where will Mr. Pan go? Just as I was thinking, I suddenly heard the sound of slight footsteps. My nerves tensed up instantly, and I looked for a way out, only to see a beautiful figure walking towards me in the darkness. Only when she got closer could I see her true face clearly. It's Su Tianxian. She saw two paper figures standing in front of the cemetery, with a cold glint in their eyes. I was afraid that she would take action against me, so I quickly said, "It's me." The sound made by the paper man was very hoarse, like the sound made by rubbing sandpaper. Su Tianxian was stunned for a moment, doubt appeared in his beautiful eyes, and a cold voice came into my ears. "Lu Su." I nodded, not to mention how stiff my movements were. At this time, I looked at Su Tianxian through the moonlight and found that her face was a little pale. I didn't know whether it was because of the moonlight or her own fault. "Who did it?" The voice was still cold and calm, but I could clearly feel Su Tianxian's anger hidden beneath the calmness. I told her what had just happened. After hearing this, Su Tianxian only said 3 words, "Follow me." Then he slapped the girl on one side. Boom! The girl was instantly blasted into confetti flying in the sky. After doing this, Su Tianxian took steps. I quickly followed her. Because I was not very familiar with this body, it walked like a penguin. Su Tianxian's originally fast pace actually slowed down at this moment. I know she's looking out for me. Soon, Su Tianxian and I arrived at a house in the next village. Without saying a word, Su Tianxian kicked the wooden door, causing it to fall to the ground. There are some household supplies, paper figures, and horses, and wreaths and lanterns piled in the yard. Mr. Pan was standing in the yard, but he placed my body in the center of the yard, surrounded by white curtains. The dim candlelight illuminated Mr. Pan's somewhat uncertain face. When he saw Su Tianxian, he exclaimed, "You are not dead." Su Tianxian stepped forward, and the corners of her red cheongsam were fluttering and swaying in the night wind, highlighting her slim figure. Her voice was so cold that it made me shiver unconsciously. "You want to hurt me with your 3-legged cat behavior." Mr. Pan stepped back step by step, his eyes full of fear. "Impossible. You can't survive. I've already asked that thing to deal with you. How can you survive when that thing is chasing you?" Mr. Pan stared at Su Tianxian with his eyes. Suddenly, he seemed to know something and he started laughing loudly. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 22. Ha ha ha. You're hurt. You're hurt. I finally understood why Su Tianxian's face was so pale. It turned out to be that he was injured. As soon as he finished speaking, the paper figures and horses in the yard began to move, and each one came to life. "As long as I can hold you back, I can take possession of this body. Even you won't be able to do anything by then." The paper men and horses swarmed towards Su Tianxian. Su Tianxian calmly formed a seal with one hand and waved his hand at the swarming paper men and horses, and a golden light directly drove away all the evil objects. So what if I'm injured? Su Tianqian pressed forward step by step towards Mr. Pan. I will tell you today that Lu Su is my apprentice, Su Tianqian. If anyone hurts him, I will definitely cut him into pieces. Hearing this sentence, I felt warm in my heart, but at the same time I felt ashamed. Remembering that I had indiscriminately doubted Su Tianqian before, and even shamed her, I felt a little guilty. Mr. Pan was very surprised to see that the injured Su Tianqian still had such strength. He glanced at my body, gritted his teeth, ran towards the wall on one side, and turned over and out of the yard. Take your body back and wait for me to come back. After saying that, Su Tianqian also chased after him. I quickly came to my body, wanting to enter it but didn't know how to start. The reason why I entered the paper man's body was because there was a bloody hand as a medium. In other words, if you want to take back your body, you still need bloody hands. I recalled the feeling of entering the body of the paper man. Suddenly, I felt a chill coming from my right hand. I quickly looked at my right hand, which was covered with paper and instantly soaked in blood. Entering my own body also required peeling me out of the paper figure. If the bloody hand is a medium, then I can naturally pull me out of this body. I gritted my teeth and grabbed my chest with my bloody hands. The paper shattered, and the bloody hand penetrated the chest easily. The next moment I felt like something was helping me to separate. Suddenly, the paper man collapsed to the bottom, and I stood in front of my body. The icy cold feeling surrounded me again. But my body exudes a fascinating warmth. I gently placed my bloody hand on my body, and the familiar weird feeling came to me again. Different from the last time, this time I felt dizzy, my eyes went black, and I completely lost consciousness. I don't know how long it took, but I slowly opened my eyes, and what I saw was the familiar ceiling at home. Was I being carried home? I struggled to sit up, got out of bed, and walked outside the house. As soon as I walked to the main room, I saw Su Tianqian sitting on the 8 Immortals chair in the main room, reading a book. When she heard the movement from my side, she didn't even raise her eyebrows, but she opened her mouth and said, "Wake up." I nodded and said, "I'm awake, thank you. If it weren't for you, I'm afraid I would." Su Tianqian put down the book in his hand, glanced at me with his beautiful eyes, and said, "There is nothing I can't thank you for. All I have done is to repay your grandfather's kindness to me." What kind of kindness does grandpa have to Su Tianqian? This makes me a little confused. But I didn't ask, because I knew that even if I asked, she wouldn't tell. I suddenly thought of Mr. Pan and asked, "What happened after I fell into coma last night?" You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 23. Su Tianqian glanced at me lightly and said, "I went after the papermaker and let him run away. When I came back, I saw you unconscious on the ground, so I brought you back. Is this gone?" I thought Su Tianqian would catch Mr. Pan. Then, where is that ghost thing that's pestering me? Su Tianqian did not answer my question. He glanced at me with cold pool-like eyes and said 2 words. "Kneel down." Kneel down? I suddenly remembered my grandfather's instructions, telling me that I must become Su Tianxian's teacher when I come back. Last night, Su Tianqian also said in front of Mr. Pan that I was her apprentice. Kneeling down now must be a sign of worship. I fell to my knees with a plop, kowtowed to Su Tianqian 3 times, and called Master. There was a strange look in Su Tianxian's eyes, and she said, "Get up." I stood up and Su Tianqian continued, "From today on, you are my apprentice, and I will tell you what you want to know. After all, it is about your life." Su Tianqian slowly told me the whole story. All this can be traced back to those things in the sky coffin. What is imprisoned in the sky coffin is the 9 evil stars. As soon as I was born, my limbs and 5 senses were snatched away by them. My grandfather went through a lot of hard work to get back what I had lost. I have already seen the sky coffin, it is that huge coffin. Your grandfather couldn't suppress the 9 evil stars in the sky coffin, and now they have escaped. Your grandfather wanted to fake his death to get away, but he was found out. Then you can only find someone with a similar bloodline to die in your place, so that the truth can be confused with the truth. My dad got into the coffin and died in my place in order to keep me alive. Su Tianqian told me about the 9 evil stars in the sky coffin. The 9 evil stars are Qing Yang, Tuoluo, Mars, Bell Star, Earth Tribulation, Earth Sky, 7 Kills, Pojun, and Greedy Wolf. The 9 evil stars in the sky coffin are the source of the 9 evils' destiny in the world. People with 9 evil fates in the world are derived from this. The 9 evil spirits in the sky coffin do not refer to people, but to destiny, which is a force. Originally, the matter could have ended here, but that ghost killed my mother and my grandfather. What happened after that is easy to understand. Su Tianqian was not trusted by his 2 uncles, and Mr. Pen obstructed me, exposing me to the sight of the 9 evil star again. Hearing this, I felt a little confused and asked, how is that ghost doing now? If you were injured by me, you won't be able to come out again for a while. I finally know how much Su Tianqian has done for me secretly. She kept fighting that devil so much that she didn't save my family in the first place. At this moment, I feel so guilty. Su Tianqian helped me so much, but I still doubted him. I am really nothing. Su Tianqian stood up, stretched out his middle finger and index finger and gently placed them on my forehead. After a while, he said, when evil spirits enter your body, you will suffer the pain of evil spirits entering your body every once in a while. I will use the 8-character blood evil to suppress the evil spirit in your body. Remember that the bloody hand cannot be used unless it is absolutely necessary, otherwise it will intensify the operation of the evil spirit in your body. After that, let me take off my clothes. Undress. Let me take off my clothes in front of a beautiful woman. Seeing Su Tianxian's serious expression, I could only do as he was told. I took off my clothes. Su Tianqian bit his finger and left a bloody mark on my back. Master, whose horoscope are you using? I heard my grandfather say that using Beza to suppress evil spirits, but people with Beza will also be affected. In other words, if I encounter the pain of evil spirits, people with horoscopes will help me share the pain. Mine. My gratitude to Su Tianqian became heavier and heavier in my heart. At this moment, I suddenly remembered something and asked quickly, Master, Master, where are my 2 uncles? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 24. Su Tianqian hesitated and did not look back. Your 2nd uncle is missing. As for your 3rd uncle, I will let him go back first. What? The 2nd uncle is missing. Su Tianxian's voice reached my ears again. If your 3rd uncle continues to stay with you, he will be affected or even killed. As for your 2nd uncle, you don't have to look for him, he won't be found. After saying that, Su Tianqian returned to the room. I wanted to ask something else, but the door was slammed shut by Su Tianqian. I did not continue to go to Su Tianqian to inquire further. Because I know that as long as it's something Su Tianqian doesn't want to talk about, she won't tell it no matter how much I ask her. I went back to my house and thought about my 2nd uncle's disappearance. Could the disappearance of the 2nd uncle have anything to do with Mr. Pen? I took out my cell phone and planned to ask my uncle, but no one answered the call. I called a few more times without giving up, but still no one answered. I let out a long sigh and secretly vowed to find my 2nd uncle. Lu Su, pack your things and let's go. Su Tianxian's voice came from outside the door. Packing up, tidy up. Leave. Where are you going? I pushed open the door and saw Su Tianqian standing at the door. I asked, Master, where are we going? Su Tianqian explained calmly, the birth of the evil star Qingyang is related to your life. You must find someone with the destiny of the evil star Qingyang as soon as possible. It was a matter of my life, so I didn't dare to neglect it, so I packed it up in a hurry. Looking at the empty old house, I recall the days I lived here, and sadness wells up in my heart. Su Tianxuan's beautiful eyes moved, she glanced at me, and said, let's go, pay homage to your family, and then we'll leave. I nodded, locked the door, and walked towards the ancestral grave. I turned back 3 times at a time, reluctantly looking in the direction of the old house. Su Tianqian didn't say a word from beginning to end. After arriving at the cemetery and paying homage to his family, Su Tianqian and I arrived at the entrance of the village. A luxury car caught my eye, and a middle-aged man in a suit got out of the car. Master Tianqian. The man shouted respectfully. Su Tianqian nodded, saying hello, and then took Su Tianqian and me to Tianfu City. I am quite familiar with Tianfu City because I went to university here. Su Tianqian took me to the front of a shop. The shop seems to be a building from the last century. In front of the door frame hang 2 old bronze lamps with mysterious patterns carved on them. 3 large characters are written vigorously on the sign. Ji Yuntang. Su Tianqian opened the door of the store. The chenxi on the first floor was very simple, with an ancient table and 2 taishi chairs. The ancient patterns carved on them proved that the 2 items were old. She took me to the second floor, opened a door and said, this is your room. After that, he thought for a while and then said, my room is next door. If you need anything, come to me and remember to knock on the door. I nodded and walked into the room. The room was not big, but it was very clean and tidy. As soon as I put my things away, I suddenly felt a heartbreaking pain in my chest, and I instantly collapsed to the ground. The pain quickly spread throughout my body, making it difficult for me to breathe and causing my liver and intestines to rupture. Is the evil spirit breaking out? I shouted with difficulty toward the door, Master. Su Tianqian seemed to feel something and hurriedly came to the door. When he saw me lying on the ground, he hugged me in his arms without saying a word. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 25. Master, it hurts. My face was pale, the corners of my mouth were twitching, and I curled up in Su Tianxuan's arms. My body was shaking violently, my vision was blurry, and my hands were tightly grasping Su Tianxuan's slender white arms. At this moment, I feel like every cell in my body is shaking crazily with pain. I gritted my teeth, the pain almost made me faint. This kind of pain is above the body and comes from the depths of the soul. If this continues, I will die from the pain. Don't be afraid. Take a deep breath. Su Tianxuan's calm voice reached my ears, and her voice was like a shot of tranquilizer, gradually calming down my panicked heart. She stretched out her middle and index fingers and lightly touched my forehead. The pain disappeared in an instant and was replaced by a comfortable warmth. The 8-character blood evil came into play. All the pain I suffered was transferred to Su Tianxuan's body. This made her frown slightly and her pretty face turn pale, but she didn't say a word. I don't know how long it took, but my trembling body gradually became calm. Seeing that I was fine, Su Tianqian let me go, then stood up and said, have a good rest. I looked at her frown and asked worriedly, Master, are you okay? Fine. After saying that, he left the room. I lay on the bed and couldn't calm down for a long time. The pain caused by blood evil attacks is not something that ordinary people can bear. Su Tianqian said, every once in a while, the evil spirit in my body will attack, and using bloody hands will also accelerate the frequency of attacks. There are only 2 ways to solve this problem. First, imprison the 9 evil stars in the sky coffin again. Second, accumulate good deeds. With my current strength, it is simply impossible to imprison the 9 evil stars. So except for the second method, there is really no way to relieve the evil spirit in my body. I would like to ask Su Tianqian if he can help me find someone with the destiny of Qingyang evil star. But seeing Su Tianxuan's frown, I swallowed my words again. What I didn't know was that at night, Su Tianqian came to the rooftop of the store and looked up at the stars in the sky. Zi Wei appears, the 9 evils appear, and the Qingyang evil star is particularly dazzling. It seems that finding the Qingyang evil star will only take a few days. The next morning, I got up early. Thinking of how haggard Su Tianqian had been in trying to help me dispel the evil spirit last night, I felt a little sorry. I wanted to go to the street to buy breakfast for Su Tianqian, but when I came to the first floor, I was dumbfounded. I saw that the 8 immortals table was already filled with breakfast, and Su Tianqian was sitting on the 8 immortals chair drinking porridge. "Let's eat." Hearing my footsteps, Su Tianqian said. I sat across from her, not to mention how embarrassed I was. I am so incompetent as an apprentice. There is no reason to ask master to take care of me. After eating, I decided to express myself. "Master, don't order takeout anymore. It's unhealthy. From now on, I will cook it for you myself." Su Tianqian was slightly startled, nodded, and said nothing. After clearing away the lunch boxes, Su Tianqian placed the paper, ink, pen, and inkstone on the table and said, "Lu Su, come here." I quickly came to Su Tianqian. Su Tianqian picked up the slender hand and said while inkstone, "I will be out for a while in a few days. After I leave, I will leave Ji Yuntang to you. Let me take care of Ji Yuntang. But I can't do anything. Su Tianqian trusts me so much." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanba. Chapter 26. Don't worry, I will arrange everything before I leave. Su Tianxuan's ink grinding movements were very elegant. She gently put down the graphite, then flattened the rice paper, and then gently took the brush. Look carefully, these are related to whether you can accumulate merit. I watched Su Tianxuan's painting movements carefully. Her movements were very light and she started writing very slowly, trying her best to let me see every stroke clearly. I couldn't help but be lost in thought while looking at her. This was the first time I had calmly observed Su Tianqian. Thinking of the weird things that happened before, the scenes of Su Tianqian saving me emerged one by one, and it always felt like a dream. "Have you learned it?" Su Tianxuan's question quickly brought me back to my senses. I looked embarrassed, shook my head and said, "No. I was just thinking about what happened recently, and I didn't notice what she drew." Su Tianqian was not annoyed, and her tone remained extremely calm. She picked up the brush and drew the ghost money in front of me again. This time she didn't ask any questions and drew 7 or 8 pictures in a row. "What about this time?" "I know a little bit." Su Tianqian handed me the brush in his hand. I looked at the ghost money on the table and started to copy it, but Su Tianqian took the ghost money away. Ghost notes are for ghosts. If you copy them without sincerity, you will naturally not be able to gain merit. I nodded, recalling Su Tianxuan's actions just now. When I picked up the pen, I don't know if it was my imagination, but I felt that the evil energy in my body began to fluctuate. But I didn't feel the pain like last night. Su Tianqian glanced at me, as if he had expected it. "The evil spirit in your body is too strong. Although I have suppressed it, you need to learn this skill as soon as possible if you want to not suffer from the evil spirit for a long time." Hearing this, I had no hesitation, so I quickly held my breath and started writing based on my impression. Su Tianqian is right. Since I have become my teacher, I can't live dependent on her all the time. My life was bought by all my close relatives with their own lives. How can you give up so easily just because of such a trivial matter as drawing ghost money? Just when I was getting some experience in drawing ghost money, a middle-aged man walked into Ji Yuntang. The middle-aged man has a fat head and big ears, a greasy face, and a big gold chain around his neck. He looks like a nouveau riche at first glance. The first thing he saw was Su Tianqian sitting on the Eight Immortals chair reading a book. He quickly came to Su Tianqian and begged, "Master Tianqian, you have to help me." Su Tianqian seemed to have been used to such a scene for a long time. He didn't even raise his eyebrows and said in a calm voice, "Go slowly, I won't see you off." The man wanted to say something more, but when he thought of Su Tianxuan's identity, he could only leave Ji Yuntang with a long sigh. I don't know how many people came to ask for hexagrams throughout the afternoon, but Su Tianqian refused them all. I couldn't help but be a little curious, why did Su Tianqian reject them without asking? Could it be that she was injured when she helped me yesterday? With this feeling of guilt, I drew ghost banknotes more seriously. Every time I drew a piece, I would show it to Su Tianqian. In the evening, I finally drew a ghost note that satisfied Su Tianqian. Su Tianqian took out 2 talismans from his pocket and handed them into my hands. "I will leave tomorrow. You must remember what I say next clearly and don't miss a word." I nodded quickly. When I was in the village, it was because I didn't listen to Su Tianqian that the situation ended up like this. Now I don't dare not listen. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 27. The first thing is that after I leave, Ji Yuntang will be officially managed by you. Or let me take care of it. I opened my mouth wide and looked at Su Tianqian in disbelief. I thought she just mentioned it casually before. I don't know how to tell fortunes, and I don't know how to read faces. How can I take care of Ji Yuntang? Don't worry, listen to me. I suppressed the doubts in my heart. Su Tianqian must have her reasons for what she asked me to do, so I just had to follow it. You are open for business, and people not named Su are not allowed to talk to you too much. If the person here is named Su, listen to his appeal and help him solve it. Are you asking me to tell people's fortunes? What this person wants is related to ghost things, so you should be careful. With that said, Su Tianqian handed me a talisman. This is the Thunder Talisman. I will tell you to activate the magic spell later. I took the Thunder Talisman and looked at it carefully. This Thunder Talisman was drawn on high-quality yellow paper with bright red cinnabar. The spell strokes on it were so sharp and powerful that they almost penetrated the back of the paper. I can clearly feel the majestic energy contained in the Thunder Talisman. This should have been drawn by Su Tianqian himself. Su Tianqian handed me another small piece of red rope and continued, "The Thunder Talisman is for you to use to deal with ghosts. Remember, you must not kill all the ghosts. The doubts in my heart have reached its peak. If the ghost is not killed, is it possible to leave him to do evil?" I couldn't help but asked why. I regretted saying these 3 words. With Su Tianxuan's character, he would not tell me. Sure enough, Su Tianqian just said that the secret must not be leaked and changed the subject. You must tie this red rope to the ghost's hand. This is the key to the whole thing. With the Thunder Talisman in hand, I have the ability to fight against the evil ghosts, and I also have the confidence to complete this matter. Also, if someone blocks you while you are dealing with ghost affairs, you can stick this talisman on his head. Then rush back to Ji Yuntang as soon as possible, and don't be idle these days. Continue to draw ghost money. If that person catches up, you will give him your ghost money. Su Tianqian stood up, walked towards the outside of the store. By the way, there is a study room on the 2nd floor. There are books about fortune telling. You can go and read it. I quickly shouted to Su Tianxuan's back, Master. You haven't had dinner yet. Why don't you finish before leaving? Su Tianxian hesitated and was silent for about 10 seconds. Finally, he hummed softly, turned around and sat down in front of the Eight Immortals chair, and then began to look through the ancient books on the table. I just said it tentatively, but I didn't expect Su Tianxian to actually come back. Don't mention how surprised I am at this moment. But I was surprised. I still wanted to cook a delicious meal for Su Tianxian. At that time, I didn't have much contact with Su Tianxian, but later I realized that Su Tianxian was actually a foodie. After dinner, Su Tianxian left Ji Yuntang. I was the only one left in the huge Ji Yuntang. I sat at the table drawing ghost money. The things Su Tianxian told me must be related to the Qingyang evil star among the 9 evil stars. This is about my life, so I must not be careless. After drawing a few ghost bills, I went back to my room and went to sleep. The next day, I opened the door of Ji Yuntang and started business. Around noon, a customer came to Ji Yuntang, a man. Is Master Tianxian here? The man is about 40 years old. He is wearing a black suit and tie. His hair is combed and shiny. He looks like a big boss at first glance. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 28. I asked for his last name, and the other person replied that his last name was Li. I stood up and said to the man, my master told me before he left that he would not easily read divination to others. You'd better hire someone else. If you are not a person with the surname Su, there is no need to waste your words. What's the use of saying more? I don't know how to read divination either. The man opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but I didn't give him a chance to say anything and made a gesture of invitation. The man had no choice but to leave. After a few days, many people came to Ji Yuntang. Rich second-generation, white-collar workers and even famous female celebrities would come to Ji Yuntang to ask Su Tianxian for fortune-telling. And all this also reflects Su Tianxuan's great fame. Everyone who comes here to seek divination is polite and respectful. A few people wanted to get in touch with Su Tianxian by currying favor with me, and they immediately packed hundreds of thousands of red envelopes to give to me. But I rejected them all. At this moment, I finally realized that money is really nothing to Su Tianxian. On this day, it was raining outside and the air was a bit depressing. As usual, I sat in front of the 8 Immortals table and drew ghost money. Through these days of practice, I have mastered the skill to some extent. At this time, the door of Ji Yuntang was pushed open, and a woman walked in. She first put away her umbrella, brushed her hair that was wet by the rain, and shouted, "Excuse me, is Master Tianxian here?" This voice. It was a bit familiar. I heard the voice and went out, only to see a young woman standing at the door of my house. When I saw her appearance clearly, I was stunned. The visitor turned out to be my high school classmate, Suluo. I never thought that the person named Su that Su Tianxian asked to wait would be her. There is something between me and her. In the first semester of her senior year of high school, she confessed her love to me, but I rejected her. The reason is that I simply wanted to study hard and get into a good university. Then she dropped out of school in the second semester of her senior year. I don't know the specific reason for dropping out. But later others said that she got pregnant because of an affair with a gangster at school. Suluo is about the same age as me. She is very beautiful, with a pair of big black and clear eyes, soft and full red lips, and a delicate little yao nose on her beautiful and pure face. Lusu. Suluo's eyes widened in surprise, and the umbrella in her hand fell to the ground with a clatter. Her beautiful eyes looked back and forth at me, with a look of joy on her eyebrows. I quickly sat her down and made her a pot of tea to warm her body. Suluo picked up the teacup and glanced at me secretly from the corner of her eye, so much so that she burned her mouth while drinking the tea. Lusu, why are you here? Sulugo asked in surprise and curiosity. I told Sulugo about my worship of Su Tianqian as my disciple. After listening to my story, Sulugo lowered her eyes, picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip of tea, then gently placed it on the table, looked at me, and showed a sweet smile. Lusu, you are indeed as good as when you were in school, and you are actually able to become Master Tianqian as your teacher. I don't know if it was my misunderstanding, but after I said that I was Su Tianxuan's disciple, Sulugo's attitude towards me obviously changed slightly. I smiled slightly and said, "Don't say that, I'm not good at all." Sulugo pursed her lips and smiled, with a hint of admiration in her beautiful eyes, and said, "Why aren't you outstanding? When you were in school, you were good at studying and handsome. I was obsessed with you at that time. I can't argue with learning this. It's okay to say he's handsome, but I don't have much impression that he charmed Sulugo to death. In my impression, I don't have much interaction with her, and I don't know why she likes me. But I really don't like her. Because I heard that she was dating multiple boys at the same time. Alas, you rejected me when I confessed my love to you. It made me very uncomfortable at that time." As she said this, Sulugo's pretty face showed a sad look, and I could even see the tears shining in her eyes. "By the way, Lusu, do you have a girlfriend now? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbo. Chapter 29. Sulugo looked at me with eyes full of expectation. I was slightly startled. Does she have a girlfriend? What does it have to do with her? Is it possible that she still likes me? Don't be ridiculous, why should I fall in love now that my own life is in danger? Not yet. Really? Sulugo said in surprise. I don't want to continue to struggle with her on this matter. Let's not talk about whether the rumor that she dropped out of school to have an abortion is true or false, but as far as the relationship between us is concerned, there is no need to delve deeper into this matter. Sulugo, do you come here to see my master for something? I went straight to the point. If what Sulugo was asking for was about ghosts, then he was undoubtedly the person I was looking for. Sulugo was slightly startled, lowered her eyes, and whispered, I do have something to ask of your master. I wonder if you can let Master Tianqian come out to see me. My master is out and won't be back in the next few days. If you need anything, just tell me. Sulugo looked at me with eyes full of doubt. She shook her head and said, You can't solve it? Lusu, can you help me contact your master now? I am really urgent about this matter. It was understandable that she didn't believe me. Thinking of all the kindness she had shown me just now, I suddenly understood her intention. She wanted to use my relationship to ask Su Tianqian to come forward. This makes me a little dissatisfied with her. These days, in addition to drawing ghost money, I have also read the books on fortune telling on the second floor. I looked at Sulugo's pretty face, because Sulugo had just been wet by the rain, and most of the light makeup on her face was gone, so the look couldn't be more suitable. Sulugo's face had rounded eyes, the ends of her eyes were curved into arcs, and her eyes kept rolling. A woman with such eyes belongs to the green tea category. But I found that there was a faint black aura lingering between Sulugo's eyebrows. This shows that Sulugo has been plagued by bad luck recently, and evil ghosts are threatening her life. If I'm not wrong, you have encountered a ghost. Sulugo looked at me with eyes full of shock. After a moment of hesitation, she suddenly leaned in front of my eyes. She stared at me closely with a pair of beautiful eyes. She grabbed my hand and said, Lusu, I really can't see it come out. You are so powerful. This sudden move caught me off guard. Seeing her pretty face and rosy lips so close to her made my grudge against her deepen. Especially the pungent perfume emanating from Sulugo made me feel uncomfortable. I quickly distanced myself from him and said, "I can solve this matter, just tell me." I think if Su Tianqian hadn't explained it before, I wouldn't have had any interaction with Sulugo. If her surname was not Su, I would ask her to leave after a brief reminiscing. After waiting for a long time, Sulugo began to tell her story. "I don't know since when, I always dream about a woman and a child when I dream at night. One day when I came home from get off work, I was very tired, so I went back to the bedroom and fell asleep. While half asleep and half awake, I heard a rustling sound in the living room. Because I was too tired, I didn't take it seriously. I don't know how long it took, but there were dull footsteps in front of the bedroom door. I woke up suddenly, but found that I couldn't move, it was extremely difficult to breathe, and I couldn't open my eyes. The door creaked open. I instantly felt as if I was in the ice, and the chill made me tremble all over. Then I heard the dull footsteps again, approaching me from far away. Just when I was struggling desperately, I felt my quilt being lifted, the cold wind blew in, and a cold hand touched my body. Cold hands roamed my body crazily, and children's laughter could still be heard in my ears. Suddenly, sharp nails scratched the skin lightly, and I could clearly hear the sound of flesh and blood bursting open. The excruciating pain instantly woke me up. I panted heavily and looked around, but didn't find anything unusual. But the pain in my chest was really real. I looked at my chest, blood was splattered everywhere, and my flesh and blood were blurred. At this moment, I knew that everything that had just happened was true. Not a dream. Sky Coffin. Author, Qingnian Wanbao. Chapter 30. The originally bright electric light suddenly went out, and the room became gloomy. It was raining outside, and the night sky was dark with no stars or moonlight. It was like a huge black hole, swallowing everything. My heart trembled, and I quickly pinched the thunder talisman Su Tianqian gave me. Sulugo was frightened by this sudden change and screamed, hugging my right arm. Emotions between people affect each other. When Sulugo made such a fuss, my heart would inevitably become nervous. "Lu Su, will we die?" Sulugo's delicate body was trembling, and her voice was full of fear. I snapped, "If you don't want to die, just shut up." I already have a grudge against Sulugo. If Su Tianqian hadn't told her in advance, I wouldn't have helped her at all. And now she is still affecting my emotions, which makes me scared and very angry at the same time. Sulugo quickly closed her mouth. The living room is large and luxuriously decorated. The expensive carpets and high-hanging crystal chandeliers all reflect the owner's high-profile taste. Does this house really belong to Sulugo? This makes me suspicious. The dull knock on the door came from the bathroom, which was the most gloomy place in the room. I took a deep breath, holding the thunder talisman in my hand, and approached the bathroom. This isn't the first time I've faced a ghost, but the last time I encountered a ghost was a lonely ghost, so I didn't have any resentment. I haven't seen the ghost yet, but I can already feel the suffocating yin qi and resentment. It made my skin tighten and gave me a chill that ran through my bones. "You wait for me outside," I said to Sulugo. At this moment, Sulugo's face turned pale and her whole body was trembling. She opened her mouth and said in a trembling voice, but, there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't want to die, just wait outside for me." I don't know how Sulugo provoked the ghost mother and son, but my intuition told me that this must not be a good thing. Because I just saw a group photo on the living room table. The photo shows a woman nestling in the arms of a man. But the hostess in the group photo is not Sulugo. However, all this is not what I should consider. What I should consider is how to complete the task assigned to me by Su Tianqian. Thinking of this, I held the thunder talisman in my right hand and stretched out my left hand to open the bathroom door. Just when my hand touched the door handle, the dull knocking on the door suddenly stopped. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. It was pitch dark in the bathroom and I couldn't see anything clearly. I took out my phone and turned on the flashlight. The light that should have been bright turned out to be so dim at this moment. It turns out that extreme darkness can really swallow up the light. The bathroom is very large. In addition to the sink and toilet, there is a black curtain directly in front of me. There should be a bathtub on the other side of the curtain. It was empty, there was nothing inside. This is impossible. The sound of knocking on the door just now did come from here. Could it be behind the curtain? I had the courage to open the black curtain, but suddenly, the yin energy in the bathroom became heavier. I couldn't help but become nervous, and my heart seemed to jump out of my throat. I felt a chill on my back, and a cold hand grabbed my arm. Someone. Wrong. There's a ghost. I squeezed the Thunder Talisman tightly and silently recited the Thunder Talisman in my mind to activate the magic spell. I turned around suddenly and froze when I saw the person behind me clearly.